Welcome to North Wales for the 2019 Cambrian Rally, the first round of the Motorsport UK British Rally Championship. And what an entry we've got lined up for you in the BRC Junior category. Last year's title winner, Steve Rokeland, might not be back to defend his title, but James Williams, runner-up in the category, is. So a thrilling prospect lined up for round one, and we've got 5 following rounds that take in the lanes of Belgium, the mountains of Scotland, the Killer Kielder ditches, and a couple of rounds in Ireland as well. The BRC Junior category for 2019 is ready to go. I've got my vantage point here in the forests in North Wales. Here's yours for all the action. So 2018 BRC Junior runner-up James Williams leads the cruiserway, a Welshman ahead of a distinctly Irish-themed entry this weekend. Impossible to try and pick a winner from a quality entry like this, particularly with 10 stages lying in wait for the cruise, including 3 in the dark. There would be no easing into the championship for our junior contenders. A challenge right from the start here at the Cambrian. Straight onto the first of the day's stages then, and it would be Will Crichton and Liam Regan that take the early advantage. It hadn't been that way from the start though, actually only 5th fastest on the opening stage of the day, but putting that right in the following 2 tests. Josh McCurlin and Ger Conway make a switch to a Peugeot this season, going well to start the day and leading after the opening 2 stages before being knocked back to second by Crichton. The difference, only 1.6 seconds. A mouth-watering battle opening up already.
And flat 4 right, opens 5, lots over crest half long, use the arrows 80, come back, turn square right.
A bit of a mistake in the opening stage would provide an early wake-up call for James Wilson and Arthur Kierans. Only a few seconds lost, but a reminder of how easy it is to be caught out on these stages. They end the morning with 3rd place. No dramas through the morning stages for Marty Gallagher and Dean O'Sullivan. They had a good feeling inside the car, not looking at the times too much and just trying to do their own thing. Easier said than done. They end stage 3 with 4th overall, just 0.8 of a second back from Wilson. Jordan Hone and Eileen Kelly were trying hard. Not here to make up the numbers by any stretch of the imagination. They would be the only crew out this weekend in the Opel Adam. One of only a few crews as well not complaining about the slippery stages, so perhaps the car was suited to these conditions. A last-minute deal sees Rory Bell and Darren Garrett out to contest the Junior Championship this season in a brand new spec Fiesta 1-litre R2T. Darren, of course, our reigning BRC champion alongside Matt Edwards in 2018. The pair have a bit of a messy first stage, but nothing to worry about at this early stage. The pace getting better as the morning went on. 6th place at this stage in the rally.
80. Flat big crest, 230.
Last year's Cadet Cup champion Jordan Reynolds with Pereda Davies alongside will be another out in a new spec Fiesta. Enjoying it as well. They do have a bit of a moment in stage 3, too wide over a crest, but they get away with it without any problems to end the morning with 7th. Things had started well for Finlay Retson and Tom Hind. Sadly, a problem on the 2nd stage of the day would see them gently hit a tree. Gently, but enough to lose the bumper. It did knock the confidence a little as well. They slipped down a few places in the order into 8th. Bart Lang and Sinclair Young will be finding their feet through the opening stages, stepping up to the BRC Juniors for this season. Everything going well so far, the varied stages providing a good challenge for the pair. And if there was an award for doing the championship on a budget, then it would go to this man, Scott Sloan, with David Sloan alongside, determined to compete in the series before reaching the age limit of 26. The pair were here this weekend alone, servicing the car themselves and making the most of the opportunity. A puncture in stage 2 wasn't helping their times, but they do reach the end of the loop, rounding out our top 10 leaderboard. Just outside the top 10, it would be a good morning for Nabila Tejpar and Max Freeman. Finding there was a little more grip than they were expecting, they end the morning with 11th overall. There'd be early frustration though for James Williams and Tom Woodburn. They came here with targets on their back. They leave early thanks to mechanical issues in stage 3, seeing their rally coming to a disappointingly early end. So we're 3 stages into this rally and indeed the season, and the fight is already close in the BRC Juniors. That lead changing hands and only 5 seconds separating our podium positions. On to the second loop of the day then, and it would be big change in the results. Rally leaders Will Crichton and Liam Regan get a puncture in stage 5, meaning that they drop right back on the leaderboard into 5th. A disappointing way to end the daytime stages, over 30 seconds lost. But the pressure was at least off. It was no longer theirs to lose, and they could push to make up some of that time in the final loop of stages. But it would take one heck of a push. With that lead now changing, there was a new fight for the top spot, and it would be James Wilson and Arthur Kieran's taking that position for now. There wasn't much more they could have done in these stages, physically shaking by the end of them due to the pace that they were on. And if you thought the times were close before at the top of the leaderboard, then this loop would be even closer. The lead slipping away for Josh McCurlin and Ger Conway, but they were now only 0.1 of a second back in second place. It really isn't possible to be much closer.
Flat 5 right plus big don't into flat.
Jordan Hone and Eileen Kelly were still enjoying plenty of grip out on the stages, perhaps finding some lines of their own as others were certainly struggling. They reached the end of this loop with the final step on the junior podium. A puncture just after service in this loop wouldn't be helping the times for Marty Gallagher and Dino Sullivan. They do briefly make it up to the final step on the podium, but lose that position again in the final daylight stage. 5th place for the pair now. Rory Bell and Darren Garrett were struggling to get into a rhythm, feeling that perhaps their tyre choice was a little hard through this loop. It wasn't really costing them a lot of time, but the confidence and the speed was taking a bit of a knock. 6th place at this stage. Punctures becoming the story of the day. A puncture in the early stages of this loop wouldn't affect the times too much for Jordan Reynolds and Perida Davies, but it did mean that the pair used their only spare. The remaining stages in the loop would need a little more conservative approach and a bit more respect to make sure that they got to the end unscathed. The confidence was now returning a little for Finley Retson and Tom Hind, and it was showing. They were still learning the car as they went along, so the pace was a bit unknown. Rain was coming down now in the middle of the stages as well, affecting the conditions, making things changeable out there, so they'd need to be a little more cautious to avoid any further damage to the car. Still another loop of 3 stages to go after this one, a long way to go. After bright sunshine to start the day, the rain was a bit of a surprise. And coming down, it was making the second pass of the morning stages a little worse. But Bart Lang and Sinclair Young were still doing exactly what they came here to do. 9th place overall for the pair, comfortably inside our top 10. There'd been no change, meanwhile, for Scott and David Sloan. They didn't seem to think that things were going quite as well as they could out on the stages, though. But they could use any rough edges at this stage to even things out and sort themselves on the next few stages, and indeed to improve for the rest of the season. Bit of a learning curve at this event for the pair. A few mechanical problems starting to show themselves on the car at this stage as well. Don't forget, these guys are competing and they are single-handed in the service area as well. And there wasn't any change on the results to report for Nabila Tejpar and Max Freeman either. The second pass of the stages providing a little better of feeling in the car. Things still going well, a solid 11th place. We are 7 stages down, 3 to go. The challenge for the crews now would be the dark. It was time to bolt the spot lamps on. For some of these drivers, for many of them in fact, the first time they would have driven proper night stages. That fight for the lead, ready to go either way. On to those final stages then here at the opening round of the BRC Junior Championship. We'd unfortunately lose Nabila Tejpar and Max Freeman, sporting a new aero package on the final stages with the boot lid open. But it would be a trip into a ditch that eventually ended the event for the pair. Frustration too for Scott and David Sloan, those issues in the previous loop that we mentioned becoming terminal, retiring in the end with gearbox problems. It was an excruciating disappointment for Jordan Reynolds and Pereira Davies. They came here looking for a strong result. They do reach the end of the rally, but the car suffered mechanical problems on the road section back to the finish in Llandudno. Game over for the pair, so close to the end. It would have been an enjoyable weekend at the end of the day for Bart Lang and Sinclair Young. Their first gravel stages in the dark. The pair ending the day with 8th place on the leaderboard. Potentially a power issue for them to look at before the next round though. And it would be bittersweet for Rory Bell and Darren Garrett through the closing stages of the rally, breaking a drive shaft going into the final stage, meaning they had to limp the car round and then on the road section back to Llandudno. Not the end that they would have wanted after a strong showing, but they do at least make it back to the finish. It had been a strong weekend, particularly given that they were learning the car. Finlay Retson and Tom Hind take away from this round loads to build on for the next round of the series, and a few cosmetic issues to put right on the car as well. 6th place for the pair. Jordan Hone and Eileen Kelly did all that they could this weekend. They kept the pressure on. The times were good, and they proved that they could mix it at the top of our leaderboard here in the junior category. The car and crew should be more suited to the asphalt of the next round in Ireland, and they would surely be ones to watch. Puncture's definitely the story of the day. A puncture in the final loop would lose Josh McErlin and Ger Conway a little more time. They reached the end of the rally with 4th place, just missing out on a podium by 1.6 seconds. After a mighty battle all day long, let's move on to those podium places, and it would be 3rd for Marty Gallagher and Dean O'Sullivan. They do have a puncture themselves in this final loop, but apart from that, things had gone to plan, and it was damage limitation. 3rd place for the pair on this opening round. Surely, though, the drive of the weekend had to belong to this man, Will Crichton, with Liam Regan alongside, coming back from that stage 5 puncture and that huge time loss to get to the end of the rally with 2nd place, salvaging a great haul of points from what could have been a very disappointing weekend, and taking strength from a difficult situation as well. Proof, if ever it was needed, that you should never give up.
And you're done. Well done, lad. Up a level. Well done.
But taking the victory this weekend would be James Wilson and Arthur Kierans. Swapping time at the top all day long, the pair get to the end of the rally with a 1.9 second lead. A close finish to this opening round of the BRC Junior Championship 2019. We'll head back to the finish in Llandudno and get some reaction from our crews over the finish ramp. A reminder though first of those final times here on the Cambrian. James, we know rally drivers like it a lot more easy than that, but it's been close. It's been an exciting battle all day.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I honestly didn't expect to be up there at the front, but it was an unbelievable day. It was very hard work, and that's the way we want it. It's tight and close. It makes it interesting for everybody.
And a word for Will as well, coming back from that puncture. I bet you didn't expect to see him in 2nd place.
Well, I sort of did, to be honest. I know how quick William is, so yeah, I know he put on a fair charge at the end there, and hats off to him. But yeah, over the moon.
Great show, well done.
Thank you.
Well, Will, we were there in stage 5 and watched you crawl through that puncture. We saw the time that you lost, and you know, we didn't write you off, but we thought it was a bit of a tall ask. For you, it was no problem, clearly.
Well, I wouldn't say no problem, but yeah, as soon as it happened, we also thought that it was a sort of day over, but we kept at it, and we just pushed as hard as we could in the last 3. Don't think there was anything left. You know, the car was great all day, thanks to DGM, and Liam really helped me in the last 3 there, guided me through, kept me on the road a couple of times. So yeah, delighted to be able to get back up into 2nd after such a loss of time earlier because of the puncture. But yeah, good points to the championship.
Marty, tough day on the stages, but a good result.
Yeah, well, it was very, very tough. Like, at the end of the day, there's only 5 seconds in the top 5, so now we're happy where we got.
You had to just push all day. You couldn't back off at all, could you?
No, it was on the limit everywhere. And fair play to the lads there 1st and 2nd. Like, they must have been on the limit more than me. But no, good result. Like, we haven't finished in the BRC round in a year, so we're happy to get finished. Never made a podium, so.
Well, you know, these guys come here to watch this, these crowds here in London, known out on the stages, and you obviously come here for a good fight. You had one of those, it bodes well for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so like the competition's going to be crazy, like, especially now coming West Cork now, the first round, so, and the three of us are all Irish lads, like, so it's all our home turf, so they'll be battling out again, so see how it goes.
I can see the excitement, we'll see you there.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, driver of the day must go to Will Crichton after coming back from that puncher to get himself onto the podium and overhaul those positions on the leaderboard today. What an exciting battle. The future stars of motorsport have put on a great show for us in the BRC Junior category, haven't they? And it bodes well for a thrilling prospect across the next 5 rounds of the British Rally Championship. Next up, it's West Cork in Ireland. We'll see you there.